So, a very warm good morning to all the esteemed panelists, to the chief guest for the event, Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am, uh, to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Dr. Raman Kumar Jha, sir, to our respected Registrar, sir, Dr. Prabhakar Tripathi, sir, uh, to our respected Director, sir, Dr. Ajit Kumar Pandey, sir, and with the blessings from the Senior Vice President of Amity Education Group, from the blessings of the Vice President of the Amity Education Group, and with the blessings of Honorable Chancellor, uh, we may like to begin the event on the women empowerment and inclusive growth. So we know that the gender is a social construct, and in order to celebrate the occasion of Women's Day and to extend it further in form of the celebration of a week and to create equality and justice and fairness for all the genders, we hereby take this opportunity at the Amity University, Jharkhand, to bring forth the essence of empowerment and inclusive growth for all, irrespective of the gender. So this webinar is being conducted with the theme of inculcating universal human values as enshrined in the UN Charter. We believe that this webinar is going to be extremely fruitful for all, irrespective of the age, gender, creed, background, not to forget that the present and future is replete of the fact that women have not only walked together shoulder to shoulder, but are miles ahead in the mission of creating an equitable world. I, on behalf of the entire Amity University family, uh, warmly welcome Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, ma'am, the chief guest for the event.
Thank
I
you.
would also like to welcome the esteemed panelists for today, Dr. Sonali Gyan, ma'am, scientist at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. I would also like to welcome Ms. Nasreen Sultana, ma'am, who is the assistant editor for Hindustan Times. And I would also like to welcome uh, Vandana Kaur Walia, Vandana Sareen Walia, ma'am, who is the associate professor at Kirori Mel College for the Department of Statistics. I hereby take the opportunity to ask Kasturi ma'am, who has been the think tank behind this webinar, to deliver her welcome address.
Thank you so much, Mayank sir, and good morning to all the respected dignitaries and the faculties of Amity University and my dear students. First of all, I would like to ask for your forgiveness for my background because I'm right now also on the way to form a government school project renovation, which I have a meeting with the DC at 11:30. So in between, I'm doing this welcome address, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity because at a very short notice, such senior people have agreed to speak on a very important topic, that is women empowerment and inclusive growth. So on behalf of Amity University Jharkhand, I would like to welcome and thank Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am, who has also inspired our students last year and who very readily accepted the topic and very sweetly accepted the invitation for joining in such a short notice. I would like to welcome the panelists for the day, Sonali Gyan ma'am, who is also a scientist in ISRO, and I'm sure our students will be highly motivated with her educational background and her work which she is doing. Thank you so much, Sonali ma'am. On a holiday for you, we are troubling you to encourage our students. I would like to welcome Dr. Vandana Sareen Walia ma'am from Department of Statistics. Students, you'll be happy to know she's my professor since last, like I studied from her when I was in my graduation. And ma'am was also equally very humble enough to accept our invitation, though she'll be joining us by 11:45 since she's having classes. So welcome to Dr. Vandana ma'am, and of course, Ms. Nasreen Sultana, HT Mint, assistant editor. She has been my known and my friend since last 20 years. We have seen thick and thin together. So thank you, Ms. Nasreen ma'am, for accepting the invitation to actually guide the students, be it girl, be it boy, as to how they can actually, struggle and get into such nice careers without having any gender biasness. because generally we have this that into journalism, female, especially from our states like Bihar and Jharkhand, girls are not allowed. So I would like to I would like request you to take this opportunity to guide them as to how they can move ahead. I would like to welcome and our respected registrar sir, who's with us here and for motivating us. Honorable VC sir will be joining us shortly. Respected director sir, respected assistant director sir, all my dear colleagues of Amity University Jharkhand who have joined us today, and all the students. Let's have next 1.5 hours on women empowerment and inclusive growth. Thank you so much, everyone, and over to Mayank sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would now request our registrar sir to deliver his welcome address.
Thank you, Mrityunjay Mayank ji. First of all, recalling from your Mrityunjay ji, so I would extend my cordial wishes on the occasion of Mahashivratri ji. सभी अतिथियों और मुख्य अतिथि आप सभी को जो है शिवरात्रि की ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं. On behalf of Amity University, of course, this is a wonderful program. Recently, we have celebrated International Women Day. So I'm happy to understand that this event is going to be another booster on this aspect also. So the topic is very wonderful. In fact, women empowerment and inclusive growth there. Empowering women must be taken as empowering family. Empowering women must be taken as empowering society, empowering nation. And the holistic growth of the family, holistic growth of the society, nation depends on empowerment of women. Women is the counter and the completeness of this human society is there. What we believe that since our mythology and so many Quran have already stressed on this, yatra naryastu purjanti ramante tatra devata. This is not mere a slogan. This is a real practice which is to be done by each family and in society also there. So, and you will be happy to know that our Amity University has always been in this understanding, and that's why more than 10 women employees are given the top responsibilities, leading our department very successfully. So empowering society is not only to be quoted there, we are practicing here, and almost many departments are being headed by our women with complete success, with trust, with confidence, and we believe that such kind of their contribution, their creativity is full with the energy, enthusiasm, is giving the real reflection that we are nurturing this value, this universal value that we are focusing on empowering women there. So it's a wonderful occasion, and I once again welcome Chief Guest Dr. Kalpana Gopalan Madam.
Thank you so much.
Secretary at Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Sciences. Among the panelists, we have also the gems of this field, Ms. Sonali Gyan, Ms. Vandana, Dr. Vandana Sirinwalia, and Ms. Nasreen Sultana. And I also welcome all our esteemed faculty members, all dear students, and this is the wonderful opportunity that we are going to have a new insight, a new understanding how inclusive growth depends on women empowerment. So once again, on behalf of Amity University, you are cordially welcome. Thank you, and over to Mayank ji.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful words. Because Honorable Vice Chancellor sir has not been able to join us because of his preoccupations, I would request Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am to address us and give her insight on the women empowerment issue. Before I welcome Kalpana Gopalan ma'am, I would like to read her profile. She has been a very senior IS officer. She is right now working as she's right now working as the Additional Chief Secretary for Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Sciences, Fisheries and Jan Spandana Public Grievances for Bangalore Urban, Karnataka. And in her career, she has been a policymaker, she has been a practitioner, she has been a scholar, she has been an author, a volunteer, and above all a mother. She secured the 19th rank in the All India Combined Civil Services Examination in 1987. Her 33-year work experience in the Indian Administrative Service spans land administration, energy, handicrafts, urban management, public distribution system, sports, rural development, youth, training, public grievance redressal, and education. Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am is the recipient of the Mother Teresa Women Empowerment Award for outstanding contribution to excellence in leadership, the International Human Rights Award under the Women of Courage category in 2019, the Sexy Brilliant COVID Leadership Award, the Social Activist Pratibha Samman, the SAARC Nations Human Rights Association Award, the Inspiring Changemaker Giving Economy Award, the Bhavishya Ke Shilpkar Award, and the Thought Leader Certification of Dr. GSK Social Labs 2020. She was recognized as a great warrior of humanity by the International Human Rights Advisory Council for her outstanding performance, commitment, contribution, and dedication towards the humanitarian services and best practices on COVID-19 prevention, and was appreciated by UNICEF and the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences for support in the COVID-19 response. She's a LinkedIn Wonder Woman and inspirational leader for 2020. She was facilitated and awarded citations and commendations by the National Social Scheme Karnataka, Bangalore University, NITTE University, Yenpoya University, Mysore University, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Vishwasaraya Institute of Technology, and many other such universities of high repute. She has also awarded the NLM UNESCO 2000 Award for Karnataka with her work in literary and the Karnataka Ratna Award 2013 for Kaveri Handicrafts. She is advisor, Bangalore City Corporation, honorary consultant, Administrative Training Institute, Mysore, member of the Advisory Committee, Public Sector Advisory, Grant Thornton LLP, and Member Advisory Board, Government Blockchain Association, India. Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am is a hybrid leader with a unique mix of public service, business school, and academic credentials, and with a lot of profile which needs to be yet read. I would request Kalpana Gopalan ma'am to address us because the list continues to be a very long one. Thank you so much, ma'am, to be with us, and I request hereby to address us. I would just share the screen, ma'am, for you so that we can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you. So, good morning to all of you. I think you should go to the first slide, the opening slide, please.
I hope it is visible.
The first slide. Yes, that is the right one. So, good morning to all of you. Thank you for that very kind and rather long introduction. And thank you all for being here. For many of you, it is a holiday, and for all of us, or most of us, it is a festival as well. So thank you for being here. As a woman in a leadership position, I am frequently asked to speak on women and women's issues. On such occasions, I speak of ordinary women, not celebrities or heroines. I speak of those who have transcended their personal circumstances or adverse externalities and carved out a future for themselves and those that they love. I strongly believe that these individual stories together script the collective narrative of all women. In doing so, these ordinary stories of ordinary women, women like you and I, become a powerful, transformational, and extraordinary narrative of all women as a collective. Next slide, please. This set me thinking. We speak of empowerment easily and often. We use the term loosely, as though it is an achievement. But what is empowerment really? The prefix M in empower troubles me, as though it is something that the more powerful and privileged bestow upon the less powerful and privileged. Indeed, if you look at the dictionary or the thesaurus, the synonyms jump out. Empower means to allow, to give power and authority. That is not just condescending. It is not even true, is it? Look back to your own lives or other women that you know. When I look at people that I admire, whether women or men, no one gave them anything. They pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, not once or twice, but each time that they fell or were pushed down. That includes me. I may look successful and fulfilled, but I was not handed anything on a platter. I have striven and coped and toiled. If anything, people around me made things more difficult, either deliberately or inadvertently. The so-called empowered women struggled, survived, and thrived over many years, slowly, gradually, at times painfully. Each story is different, but one thing is common. These women built their individual capability, and this made them not symbolic shells who were given power, but the true architects of their own self-empowerment. Next slide, please. Building capability. That is the key. Building capability rather than empowerment is a far more accurate description of my journey and the journey of many women I know. If it sounds familiar, let me remind you, building capability is the underpinning of the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen's capability approach. Sounds too theoretical? Well, let me make it simple. For me, this sums up my capability approach. Don't give me a larger slice of the cake because I'm a woman. What I want is not just a bite into your slice. I want to choose the cake I eat, its texture and flavor and color. And I want to learn to bake it myself and share it with you too, equally. The capability approach. What is the use of theory if it does not enable practice, help us live a better life? let me delve deeper into what constitutes my capability cake. Here too, the flavors and colors may vary, but the three seminal ingredients of my capability cake are: 1. Competence, 2. Courage, 3. Compassion. Now let me unlayer these three concepts for you. Next slide, please. Competence. This is the easiest, as it can be acquired, learned. Competence means being good, being the best at what you do. It can include education, a qualification, but it goes beyond it. I could have used the word education, but it would be too narrow. My late aunt's formal education stopped at primary school, but her knowledge of the world, of people, was unsurpassed, and she was the world's best cook. Competence is your qualification, your special skill or talent, that value add that you bring to your task that no one else can. It cuts across professions. It applies to career women as much as to homemakers. And best of all, it can be learnt. See the picture there on the screen. This is Sunidhi Manjunath, that little girl over there. Sunidhi is 12 years old and visually challenged. I met her at the Asha Kirana School for the Blind in Chikmagalur in Karnataka in January 2019. Sunidhi was completely involved in blind chess. Perhaps others around her were aware of her disability, but she was completely unaware. I remarked in amazement, "You will be a champion soon, Sunidhi." And sure enough, by April, she had won the first prize in the National Blind Chess Championship in Goa. Sunidhi, for me, epitomizes competence. So, enhance your competence every way that you can. Today, we are not bound by a formal school and collegiate system. Whatever your field of interest, knowledge is available at your fingertips on the internet, television, and a host of non-formal educational systems. Use them all. Learn continuously. Be the best at what you do. Next slide, please. Second, courage. This is often innate, but it can be acquired too. The lady you see there with me is Mallika. When Mallika lost her husband at a young age, she learned to drive and became a buggy driver at the KLE University in Belgaum. She has put her son through school and got her daughter married with her own earnings. All of us may not face such adversity like Mallika, but there are so many situations, petty as they may seem, confronting a bully in your office, enduring an untenable situation at home, ignoring a rude remark with a smile, all of which require quiet courage or endurance from you. Sometimes you need courage just to hang in there when the world around you goes berserk. Sometimes you need courage to stay in the arena even when you are pushed to its margins. In these times, what you need is faith in the universe and self-belief, and that stubbornness not to give up. Next slide, please. Finally, compassion. For me, this is the most critical attribute of a fully capable woman. We are each a daughter, sister, wife, mother, professional, but we are also members of a society and citizens of a nation. We are familiar with corporate social responsibility, CSR, or the public responsibility of public servants like me. But there is something more. Each of us has a personal social responsibility, PSR, which we have to recognize and acknowledge. This is our debt to our fellow women and men that we have to pay. Of course, you are busy with your job and your family and the rush of daily life. But still, choose some sphere, some field that you are interested in, and share, give your talent, knowledge, or expertise. If you are a good singer, go to a hospital or an old age home and sing to the residents. If you love poetry, share the delights of a Wordsworth or a Manonmaniyam with the children in your neighborhood. Here in the picture, you see Pushpalata. Pushpalata is a nurse and my NSS coordinator, and she was on COVID-19 duty. The exacting work never dampened her spirits. And after 1 week of COVID duty, she wanted to still continue. We had to persuade her to take a break as per protocol. This spirit cannot be born of competence or courage. It needs that special ingredient of compassion. Next slide, please. Let me go back to theory. When I began my talk, I spoke of the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen's capability approach. But my interpretation of the theory was through the metaphor of slicing a cake. Why did I choose such a simple metaphor to speak of serious gender issues? There are reasons for this. Theory cannot remain an academic exercise. It has to be interpreted, translated, and applied in our life and our work. It is easier to remember and practice a concept when it is expressed in simple everyday terms. If I had given you a lecture on gender discrimination, it would have displayed my scholarship. But you will not remember anything of value to take away, and more importantly, to live by and to practice. The second reason is, while speaking of gender or other forms of discrimination, we speak of external factors. And it is true that social and structural issues play a large part in creating the problem. But the fact that the source of the problem lies outside us should not induce helplessness and inaction. You cannot wait till the world changes. You have to effect the change in yourself, impact your own life, and thereby become part of the solution. I believe that solutions to the intractable problems of the world are found most of the time by small, gradual, incremental choices of ordinary people like you and I. That is why I have not shown you pictures of a Gloria Steinem or an Angela Davis. I have instead showcased for you Sunidhi, Mallika, and Pushpalata. Third, I believe that every problem has a solution, and that solution lies in simple but substantial action, not symbolism. It is not necessary to shout slogans and join marches. Symbolic actions do have their value, but what will affect the substantial change are simple, ordinary solutions practiced with extraordinary diligence. Yes, just like COVID-19, hand washing, distancing, simple solutions, but substantial impact. Last slide, please. So, my dear sisters, do not wait to be empowered. You build your capability, your competence, your courage, your compassion. Help and encourage the women around you to do the same. Your daughter, mother, sister, friend, and frenemy. You can do it starting now. Thank you all. Fly free. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful address. We have our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, who has just joined. Welcome, sir, to the webinar. And we would like to continue with the next panelist, who is Dr. Sonali Gyan, ma'am, scientist at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, ISRO. Before I request ma'am to deliver her speech, I would like to read her profile. Dr. Sonali Gyan, ma'am, joined Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, ISRO, in 2006 as scientist/engineer in the design and analysis of launch vehicle structures. She has been actively contributing in the design, analysis, development, and fabrication of major structures of launch vehicle and spacecraft for various projects. She has also designed the structures of Human Space Program, Cartosat 3A, GSAT, and Chandrayaan-2. Sonali ma'am has acquired her master's degree in aerospace engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. She has over 15 publications in international and national journals and conferences. Ma'am is a professional member for life of the Indian Society for Advancement of Materials and Process Engineering, Indian Society for Non-Destructive Testing, and the Indian Society of Systems for Science and Engineering. I hereby now request Sonali ma'am to deliver her address.
Thank you so much. And Chief Guest, Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, panelist Dr. Vandana Sarinwalia and Ms. Nasreen Sultana, undergraduates and postgraduates, faculties and students, very good morning to all. And thank you, Dr. Kalpana, for a thought-provoking address. Well, I'm extremely happy to share my experiences as a woman scientist in ISRO. And well, I believe that every woman's life is an inspiration in one way or the other, because it is the struggles, the challenges, it is unique in itself. So to begin with, my first encounter with the culture of ISRO was just after 6 months when I joined ISRO. So when we join, 4 months of training will be given, and after that we will be posted to the respective divisions. So this was the incident where the first GSLV launch we were about to witness. And we were super excited, not because that we have understood all the rocket science, but it was the excitement for being in ISRO and being a part of it, and then witnessing a launch. So in ISRO, there was a arrangement that there will be a big auditorium and there will be a big screens, and we will be given the opportunity to witness the launch all together, all the employees. So we gathered out there, and this majestic vehicle, GSLV, was on the launch pad. And then the countdown started, this 10, 9, 8. And then when it reached 0, the first stage ignited. And it was, full of clapping and shouting, and we were with all fun. And suddenly, after 55 seconds, it exploded. And it could not reach to the destination. And there was a pin drop silence in the auditorium. So we were quite disappointed, all the employees of ISRO, and our faces were gloomy. And we could not believe that what suddenly happened. So the day after that, you may think that why I'm starting from failure, but then that incident, it is not the failure, but what happened after failure. So all the, full ISRO community was gearing up to know that what went wrong. Reviews happened, chairman reviews, directors reviews, presentations. Everybody was on their foot to know that what really went wrong and what we can correct. And then, there was a design flaw. After 4 weeks, we come to know about this. A very detailed study happened, corrective actions were taken, and then it was never repeated. The same kind of mistake. And then that particular time, I saw the employees. There is no time as a regular, government employee. We have to punch in and go out at 5. It is not, the scene is not like that in ISRO. So people forget about their family lives and they came to office, day and night work happened. And then I realized that this is the culture of ISRO, then that we have to learn from our failures and then come up for further, successes and further looking forward. And then I also realized that it is rocket science. When we talk about something, tough in our life, we say it is rocket science. That day I realized that it is the aerodynamics, it is the structures, it's the navigation, it's guidance, control, it's propulsion, it's inertial systems, it's onboard computers, the softwares, everything should work in sync. One mistake and, gone. So that is what I know about ISRO at that day. That is the teamwork. And of course, there is no, disparity between men and women working in ISRO. You might have seen that launches, it depends on the technical things, like when the launch will be. So sometimes it will be at 2 a.m. and even, any work assigned to the employee, it may be men or women, they will be present there because that is our culture and that is the commitment for the work we do. So with that, I can say that absolutely we don't face any kind of, disparity in ISRO, and its culture is definitely different. And you may be aware of the legacy of ISRO, its success things and all. So now I will take you slightly back. I cracked this ISRO examination and then, interview and join. But I will want to take you back to my school days where I'm from Lucknow actually, and there we do have, after our 8th grade, we do have a choice to take whether you want to go to a science side or arts or commerce, whichever way. So I was pretty interested in, mathematics and physics and chemistry. And by that time, I had no idea that ever I would go to ISRO or DRDO or NAL or some technical field or what. But at that point of time, my only interest was, about science. And then when with my mother, I went to admission to take the form for science side, and there was a lady, and she was telling that why you want her to go into science side. At the end of the day, she will get settled, and you really don't need, for household course, you really don't need a person to be in science. But my mother was knowing me well, and she sure let her give the opportunity. Let her, if she can't do, let her take it. And then that lady told that ladki ko scientist banana hai kya? So, when back then I was not knowing that it is one day I will become a scientist in ISRO. But what the point over here is, you may not be knowing what you are going to become. You may have passion, you may have interest, but at that moment of time, what you have to pursue is your interest. It is not that somebody should force on you to go to a particular line or choose your career, but it depends on your own interest, and it's better that you follow that one. So, okay, now you may be aware of ISRO, but one thing you may not be aware, and that I am going to share with you, is that ISRO is full of opportunities. It's not like a government organization where sometimes you go and I'm talking normal government organization. So it gives you immense opportunities. Like first thing is you can continue your higher education, and ISRO has the provision under certain circumstances. Like after joining 3 years in ISRO, I decided that I want to do my PG. So ISRO gave me that opportunity in any IITs or IISc. You can fill the form and go for GATE examination, and then like a regular student, you can crack the GATE, and then you can write the exams and go for the interviews. So I have pursued my MTech from then Indian Institute of Science. And this prestigious institute, what it has injected in me is the research capability, which I was lacking before going into that institute. So now, after coming back from PG, I look things differently, technical things differently, and it helped actually. So I really thank ISRO that it has given that opportunity. The second thing is that opportunity to collaborate. You can collaborate with any academia, industries of the country, and you can collaborate with them on any issues, on any technical things, because we in ISRO, we are not only doing the engineering part, like we are in production mode also, we are doing research also. So we can collaborate with academia who are better in research. So that opportunity is also given by ISRO. Now, next thing I would like to talk is the opportunity to guide, and it is like teach and learn. So we can always take a lot of, UG and PG students, and we can guide their projects also. That is the technical aspect. So what happens in this whole scenario is like you can teach them and you can also learn. Because what happens when we are in a demanding, demanding job like this, we need to update ourselves daily basis. So if you're not with the current students or what is happening in academia, we will be lacking behind, and we cannot, be on par with what is happening now at present. So that's the opportunity ISRO gives, which very few people may be aware of. And definitely it's no gender biasing is there. It's equal opportunity for all. So you are UG and PG students, and tomorrow definitely you will be taking up more bigger responsibilities and roles. So a very important part of women's life is the work balance and the your home and work balance together. Because there will be a time where you need to take care of your family and your home management, as well as a very demanding job. So actually some of the things I have actually incorporated into my life to make it more simpler, to manage it better. So just I want to share some of the things. You may be knowing it, but still I want to share it. Like the first thing which I have incorporated is like I made my office, that very near to my home, because it is very, very essential to manage both. So initially it was some 25 kilometers, and now I can walk 5 minutes and just, so if any problem or if anything, if I'm required at home at any instant, I can be there. That is also very important. It is not that only work is important, or it is not that only home is important. You have to, put a balance on both. So this is a very important. I'm not telling that everybody should do that, but as far as possible, we should, make our office and make our home in a very near place, very near to each other. The second thing is you must be already aware of terms like, joint ventures or collaborations and teamwork. So why not start this particular thing on our house? Because we do have a lot of household courses and outside courses, outside works also, like going to the bank or marketing or, taking care of our finances and home course. So why not all the family members be, equally handle all those stuff. So for one person, it won't be, coming. And with that, what we can see is we can set a precedent to our children also that look, these courses are independent of gender. Father can also cook and mother can also take care of finances, or mother can also drive you to a doctor and come back. So these kind of things, when we tell to our children and when they see it, they will pass it to the next generation. And like this, one day it will come then that these courses will be gender independent, and people will look into it in a different manner. And this change we only have to bring by setting up the precedent. And the third thing and the last thing I want to tell, and you are a better person because you're in management area, that about time management and planning. So when you are juggling between your work and home, then definitely you have to plan a lots and lots of things. Small, you may be aware of it, like when there is an appointment with the doctor and you have to wait somewhere. So what I do is, like, I review those papers there, or some reports will be there, and it's so we have to be in constant reading mode. So those kind of stuff we can do at that time, so we can manage our time in a better way. So yeah, all this stuff. Like this, these are the things which I want to convey. And overall, I can say that any institute or organization, if it wants to be, if it wants to flourish, the first thing is that it has to have an open-mindedness. It has to be progressive, first of all, and very welcoming, as ISRO does. It's very welcoming and it's very, very progressive in nature, and positive attitude is there that we can do it. So with that, I would like to conclude and wish the UG and PG students all the best for the future, and also do the stuff which interests you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful insight, including your professional experience and how you are balancing your personal life along with the commitments you had for the nation. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to request the next speaker for the day, Dr. Vandana Sareenwalia, ma'am, to talk about the issue of women empowerment. Dr. Vandana Sareenwalia, ma'am, is an associate professor at the Department of Statistics in the Kirori College at the University of Delhi. Including her academic achievements, where she joined as assistant professor in the Kirori College in the Department of Mathematics in August 1988. She was promoted to a reader in 1998, and she continues to be in the same Kirori College in the Department of Statistics since January 2006. She has an experience of more than 32 years in teaching statistics to undergraduate as well as postgraduate students. Apart from her academic achievements, she has also handled well the roles of managing the Eco Club, the placement cell. She has also been the part of the Fine Arts and Photography Club. She has been the convener of several governing bodies which are approved, and staff council committees like Provident Fund Committee, Central Purchase Committee, Standing Committee for UG Admissions, Grievance Committee for Redressal of Grievances relating to undergraduate admissions. She has also served as a presiding officer. She has been the part of the Internal Complaints Committee under the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act of 2013. And on that note, I request Dr. Vandana Sareenwalia, ma'am, to take over and give her insightful analysis.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your introduction. And thank you so much, Dr. Sonali Gyan. I really enjoyed your talk and the insight you gave in your talk about ISRO. I would also like to greet each one of you who's present today. It's a lovely day, and I'm so happy to share it with all of you. So I'm Dr. Vandana Serinwalia from Kirodimal College, Delhi University, here to share my experience as a woman and also as a teacher. Okay, so let me begin with myself. So I am the eldest of 3 girls at home with no brothers. So right from childhood, I've heard my father say that he wished he had a son, and many relatives who would express their pity for my dad, who had to bring up 3 girls single-handedly. And my young mind questioned several times why this preference for a son, why a preference for a boy? Aren't girls sweeter? Aren't they cuter and more charming? And they are more obedient? But as I grew older, I realized that how difficult it is to bring up a girl child, and especially in India. And I'm sure many of us realize that. So I think I want to thank my parents for letting me live and not killing me because at birth, because I was a girl child. So I, in a way, owe my life to them. I also feel that I need to thank whoever made it possible for girls to pursue higher education, because I owe my education to them for all the work that they did into bringing girls to schools, colleges, and higher education. Similarly, I feel there is a need for me to thank my extended family, my husband, to letting me pursue my career of choice. And well, that is the sad part. We as women need to thank the families, the society in general, for our progression in life. We depend a lot on how they allow us to move ahead. It is strange, but it is true, because we have to depend on them for many basic things: our right to live, right to education, right to making a career of our choice. Now, these things that I've just called basic are in fact a luxury and a dream for millions of girls and women across the world. The challenges for us as women are very, very pronounced. And I'm sure a number of you realize that life is not as easy a journey, because there are, in our country itself and many, many other countries for that matter, there are problems of female feticide, domestic violence, sexual assaults, forced marriages, discrimination, gender discrimination, and even discrimination at workplace. So these are just few of the challenges. There could be many more that I'm not able to highlight at this point. So, so obviously there are every single aspect that I will be in a position to highlight here, but there are few which are closer to my heart that I would like to talk about. Before I do that, I want to quote a UNESCO survey report, which says, this was in 2015, which found that there are about 500 million women across the world who lack basic literacy skills. So I really feel that you, me, and all of you present here are in fact a privileged lot who have been able to get the kind of literacy education that we wanted ever. But this is not to say that the girls less privileged do not have the potential to achieve their dreams, because I have found that we as women who have been able to go to higher education have achieved a certain level, but there are aspirations and potentials even with girls who are comparatively less privileged. And it is their education which I feel would really be the right step in empowering women at large. What they lack probably is the confidence, awareness, maybe life skills, guidance, mentoring, etc. Otherwise, the aspirations, the potentials are just the same. So, in my teaching career, I have come across several cases of girls who have, through their sheer grit and determination, pursued education, achieved the levels that they aspired for and dreamt about right from their childhood. And there is one case that I want to share with you. So this is a small girl who came from a small village in Rajasthan. I'm not naming her, there is no need to, because this could be a story of many other similar students. So she came for admission to Kirorimal College, Delhi University, along with her father, who was not a very happy looking man at that point. I remember very clearly, had a frown on his face. And on this girl's face, though, in the contrary, I found a sparkle in her eyes, a smile on her a very pleasant smile on her face. And I just asked her what her aspirations in the future are. And she told me very clearly that she wanted to set up a school for girls in her village. And I realized that, well, she had similar aspirations. If given the right direction, she can achieve a whole lot more than what she would have otherwise. So she joined the college. She pursued her graduation. Once she did share with me that her father was not very happy with her choice of college. Why? Because it was a co-education. Anyhow, so she continued to study, and I recall that after first year of her graduation, she went back to her village and found that her marriage had been fixed. She was whole of 19, and her marriage had been fixed because no other girl in her village and community was unmarried at that age. She tried to convince her parents against it, but to no avail. So, you know what she did? She escaped with the help of a cousin of hers, boarded a train and came back to Delhi. And her father was so unhappy that he stopped sending her any kind of money or help to able to survive in Delhi. So what this child did was that she started giving tuitions to school students, and she started earning something like 2,000 rupees per month. And never even once did she ever neglect her own studies. So she earned an amount which was almost the same earning that her father was doing. Um, Her father lost his job sometime later, and this girl supported her entire family. So this is the kind of power education can have. There was nothing that would deter her from realizing her childhood dreams. And I know that there are thousands of such girls out there. Only thing, again, I would say is lacking is probably the confidence and the focus. So I feel when we talk about women empowerment, it is all about empowering women so that they are strong enough to fight their regular battles and achieve their goals and dreams. They should be empowered with knowledge, awareness, skills. They need to be empowered with employment skills also, so that if required, they can employ themselves and fund their education. More and more girls must be sent to colleges for higher education. You know, there have been several batches of students that I've taught during my course of my career, and I found that I have had all boys batches in the first decade of my teaching. But gradually, when women started joining these kind of courses that I teach, um, still girls were a small minority only in these groups. But times are changing, because today more and more girls are taking admission in colleges and higher education. In fact, there is almost a 40%, a whopping 40% of admission in Delhi University, which is taken by girls. And I think this is the kind of emphasis that we need to give on higher education. And why I'm doing this is that when the even if the idea of empowerment is to be able to make a woman capable of employing herself, giving her employability skills, what has happened traditionally, I have found, is that girls and women have been given education till a certain point, and then after that they have been put into diploma courses, or they have been taught courses like tailoring or stitching and so on, uh, and that does not allow her to achieve her true potential. It is the women empowerment, when we talk about, has to be a much broader sense than that. It has to be empowering a woman to be able to achieve her maximum potential, not only just empowering her enough to be able to get some kind of employment, and that's about all. So empowerment in today's context would mean, according to me, equipping all women with what is called 21st century skills. These skills that would make them better decision makers, that would enable them to achieve their highest potential, as I've already mentioned, and that would allow them to improve their quality of life. So why force them to just take up employment in areas where they are able to achieve only X amount of their complete potential, maybe which is 20 times X. So clearly, when we talk about 21st century skills, this is a complete package of personal development where we need to educate them about dealing with conflicting situations, how to have confidence in themselves and so on, about academic development, so that they can do well academically and have the confidence of knowing that they can achieve it as much or even better at times than many other, and also have the professional development so that they can achieve the maximum potential that they have. This would enable women to achieve a financial independence also, and that I feel is the second very crucial aspect in women empowerment. Not only is it education, but also financial independence. Financial independence of women will, I think all of us understand, help us to become a better decision maker for herself as well as for her family. But uh, once she starts, working, is she financially independent? No, perhaps not. Financial independence in true sense would mean that she should have complete control of her money management in terms of investments, in terms of savings, in terms of expenditure, earning, and so on. And there is one more aspect that I want to touch upon. I think I have that much of time to, and that is, what is the role of a man in empowering a woman? Because the contribution of a man as a father, as a brother, as a friend, colleague, husband, son, it cannot be undermined. It is important to sensitize them that they have to become support structures for women. It should not be a father who's not happy about a girl's education. It should not be a father who wants to marry off a girl and feel that his responsibility is over. It should not be a brother who wants to see her sister out of the house so that he's the only owner of the property. It should be a friend who should encourage her to grow along. It should be a male colleague who should support her, and so on. And I think these are the aspects which will truly empower women of today. With these words, I would like to conclude my talk. And I'm sure that we as privileged women will make, if not too much, but a small contribution towards empowering our counterparts and all our friends and all women in general. Thank you so much for having me here for the webinar today.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that insightful analysis, not only from the point of view of a woman, but also from the point of view of an academician. We are glad to have you here amongst the esteemed panelists. The next speaker for the day is Nasreen Sultana, ma'am, and she is the assistant editor at Hindustan Times, Mint. Before I request her to deliver her talk, I would like to read her profile. Nasreen Sultana ma'am has been currently working at Hindustan Times business newspaper Mint, and she has been in, in this field for 15 years, and she has an experience in journalism and business reporting. At Mint, ma'am writes extensively on capital markets, macro and global economy, regulators, stock exchanges, mutual funds, IPOs, and corporate developments. Ma'am has hosted two popular podcast shows on stock markets, and she has also anchored news shows and interviews market, featuring market and business leaders. Based out of Mumbai, Nasreen ma'am has worked at news organizations like Network 18 and Bloomberg UTV. Raised and born in Assam, uh, the state is very close to her heart. And when not tracking stock markets, she is an ardent traveler and likes to trek. For any conversations from films to cats to food and stock markets and economy, we can be in touch with Nasreen ma'am at Nasreen Story in Twitter and Instagram. With that brief profile, which talks volumes about the achievements you have made in this life, ma'am, I request you hereby to deliver the talk on the issue of women empowerment.
Thanks a lot for the warm welcome. It's an honor and privilege to be speaking to the students of Amity University, Jharkhand, and of course to be part of a stellar panel. And of course, these are very, very inspiring stories. I was also asked to share my journey in getting my foot in the journalism and media industry. But I thought, why not step aside and let me take you through how the corporate, Indian corporate has evolved throughout the years as far as gender inclusion and women empowerment goes, because I'm sure in few years, most of the students at Amity would be either working in corporate, or few of us would be probably joining the board, making decisions which would be business impacting. So I am taking the liberty of not discussing my personal journey, but I will take you through the corporate scenario and how the regulatory changes were made during the last few years, and these were watershed moments for Indian corporates, which actually made inclusion of women in the workforce more stronger. And of course, we have not reached where we should have been maybe 20 years back. It's very ironic that a lot of organizations are celebrating Women's Day with giving you packages of spa, giving you chocolates or flowers, and why not? Probably you are celebrating that. But at the same time, if you have read today's newspaper, you will see that a 38,000 crore company, Murugappa company, there, the daughter of the executive chairman, she has filed a case in the NCLT against gender discrimination. I'll not get in the details of the case, But what is she talking about? That she being a daughter and she rightfully needs or has to have a voice in the board. It's a very long ongoing legal battle. But what she's saying right now, that she has not got a seat in the board, which means that she's not able to take any decision in the company where she should have legally and rightfully got into it. So this is the scenario that we are all living into. These are the both sides, where one is probably celebrating and the other side is probably fighting legal battles to even get one legal and rightful position in the corporate world. But it's not all bad and dirty and difficult. There are government measures which have helped women to join the workforce. They're encouraging schemes in the government, within the company, which will encourage women to join the workforce. I'll get into all of those details in a bit in the time that I've been given to talk. But let us go back to the history a bit. While public and corporate understanding of the importance of women empowerment has improved in the recent years, inclusion hasn't and needs to be more widely promoted. Gender gap leads to lower GDP and less innovation and skewed demographics. This needs to be understood by the people who run businesses in India. And of course, this is not a one country phenomenon. It's not that India is a developing country, hence that's the situation here. You go to US, the representation of women in the board or in the corporate world is very, very skewed towards the other gender. One has to understand that closing the gap between the two gender can turn the negatives into tailwinds for the company. And it is not just women who benefit from erasing this inequality, but all of society and the economy as a whole. If I take you through some data, I'm sure most of your students are management students, will love data here and numbers. In India, the women representation, as I said, in boardroom particularly is very low. So much so that the government had to intervene in 2013 and make changes in the Companies Act, which said that companies have to have one women representation in the board member. Now, where do we stand now? In March 2020, which is the latest report, there, if you look at the Nifty 500 companies, which is 93% of the total market cap which are listed, that shows that around 777 women directors are there in the companies out of the 4,657 directors. Now, this number probably is just a beginning of the changes that the Companies Act had started in 2019. Of course, the market regulator in 2015, the SEBI, had also made it mandatory for a company of a certain size to have a women director or a women participant in the board member. So initially what happened was, all the companies, what they did, they either got a relative who could be a mother, a sister, a daughter, or a wife in the board. Now that was just tick boxing the requirement because it was a compliant issue. The reason they gave was they could not find a fit or an educated woman to get into the board. That was the scenario that we began with. I'm sure in the next 10 years or maybe in 20 years, when girls are joining, doing higher education, this scenario will change. And when we are looking at data, year-to-year data, this scenario is definitely encouraging. Relatives are no longer part of the board or taking decisions. It's qualified women who is joining the workforce, elevated to take decisions which will impact businesses for these corporates. Moving on to another regulatory change that the corporate world actually took in India. And this was really a watershed moment for the corporates. And that was the making mandatory of filing cases under prevention of sexual harassment cases in workplace. Now, this does, of course, doesn't mean that it's only gender bias towards women. It could be towards any kind of sexual harassment cases. And the SEBI made it mandatory that companies have to make note of the number of cases that would be on prevention of the sexual harassment cases, or shortly called as POSH. It has to be made mandatory to note the number of cases which are redressed and which are pending. So for that, the companies had to mandatorily have a board for that, which will listen to your complaints, make you comfortable, and of course not disclose the complaint's name, and also try to address that issue. Now, this board had to have women member in it so that they can take decisions. Now, not to be confused here is that this regulation is not meant only for women, as I said earlier, is against any kind of biasness towards gender, or towards any kind of discrimination based on the gender preference, of course, on your color and race and religion, of course. I have some data in March last year, because that's the latest data. There is an encouraging bit that the numbers are declining. The number of sexual harassment cases in corporate world is declining. Now, there are two ways to look at it. One, is it good that there is underreporting, or is it bad that that people are not made comfortable that you can go and confide to the board? Is the board that is meant to address your sexual harassment cases at work just for the namesake, or they are actually taking really cognitive steps to kind of not have that kind of situation in offices? Now, with work from home situation now, the language and the definition of POSH has changed. Actually 90% of the workforce is working from home. The question is, what does actually encompass the POSH, or how do you actually infer sexual harassment at workplace? So all of those is worked out. There are a lot of awareness programs that companies do, and companies need to do mostly to make their employees aware that what is legally rightful and what is not right. Sending a message to your female colleagues, which could be derogatory, can also come under POSH. So this kind of awareness is very required. It is very sad to know that when I look at the data, government companies somehow lack in the number of cases. Either there are 0 cases in a lot of government companies, or there are minor cases. Probably there were not many awareness programs, or probably probably there were no cases at all. Let's assume that. Now, I want to shift focus to something very important or very drastic that happened last year. I spoke about work from home situation, where all your definitions of inclusion, harassment, and discrimination actually changed. But COVID also had far-reaching effect in our lives. I'm not talking about the loss of livelihoods and the loss of jobs that we had, but I'm talking about the other gender. Women, as per the UN report, women are also among the most affected by the COVID-19 cases worldwide. And I'm not talking about the affected cases. I'm talking about the crisis that it had brought upon the women gender. Why so? Because they have taken, or may have taken, more time off to care for the children and elderly, and often because probably they have often worked in low-paid part-time jobs that are at risk of being cut. This I'm talking about service industries like restaurants, theaters, spa, hotels, and industry like that. And also the most important, the airline industry. I'm referring to a McKinsey report that was published last year. It said that COVID had hit women jobs, which could cost the world by $1 trillion by 2030. That's the far-reaching effect of the COVID-19 crisis. And I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but because we were not ready to kind of tackle a pandemic, and the women workforce was already less represented, that's the reason this number is quite high. Now, there was a Human Women report published in September 2020 that confirmed that pandemic will push 96 million people into extreme poverty in 2021. That is the current year that we are in, out of which 47 million are women. Also, female job loss rates due to COVID-19 are about 1.8 times higher than the males globally. Women jobs are 19% more at risk than men's, and one of the main reasons that women are disproportionately represented in the sectors are negatively affected by COVID. Now this may look very gloomy and very sad that what happens next once we join the corporate culture, but it's not so gloomy and it's not so dark. We have made a lot of achievements as far as women representation and gender equality in the workforce. Now, despite the challenging outlook for gender equality, there are bright spots, like I mentioned. For example, women have dominated in the vaccine discovery industry after COVID hit. If you go back and check, the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine is actually led by 2 female scientists, and they lead all women researcher. That's quite encouraging for people because in the scientific research field, women representation is very, very low. Another data point which is very interesting is the female-led countries like Germany, Norway, Denmark, Taiwan, Finland, Iceland, and New Zealand. They seem to have managed the pandemic crisis better than their male counterparts. And this shows that probably countries led by women did better in number of total deaths also per million and the total COVID-19 cases. So I'm going back to what I started with the effect, the education that is required. So the direct effect in India and globally also, especially in the developing countries, the direct effect of COVID-19 has been the closure of most schools for long periods. Some consequences of the pandemic are yet to be known because the data is not available. Most schools are still closed as we speak. But one of the main effects of the pandemic is that girls are being required to put in more time in their home. They are looking at probably the newborns, the younger brothers, or probably they are spending more time in kitchen rather than studying. And furthermore, in the worst case, losing a parent may also result in reduced income and children having to go to work. There are cases where children are forced to marry because they have to gain more income stability by having a less number of family to feed. So this is the reality. Now there are the issues. I know we have been talking about the issues for years now. How do we address the gender pay gap in corporate world? I am not an expert in the gender crisis that we have, but I do a lot of conversations with corporates, with researchers who are closely working with corporates to get more meaningful and inclusion as far as gender is concerned. So few top of the mind solutions that I think is if the government makes it mandatory for corporates to publish what kind of proportion of their workforce are male to female, and also reveal their gender pay gap. Now, what happens in this is that there's a transparency. There's a transparency in salary, also in transparency in the gender pay gap. When your numbers are out there in the public, there is it automatically becomes a responsibility of the corporates to probably address that. That we saw in the last 2 cases that I mentioned about the sexual harassment cases, which is declining, and also the women representation on the board, which is increasing. So probably getting public knowledge would help. Secondly, and a very important thing is probably increasing the paternity leave. After a lot of struggle, the maternity period of the maternity leave has been increased to 6 months. But is that enough? because there are a lot of companies who generally do not prefer women who are into maternity leave. If they don't come back to workforce, your promotions are probably reconsidered. Your salary hikes are also reconsidered. How do we address this? Maybe if we also increase the paternity leave. What happens is, if fathers have more days of paternity leave, this could help women return to work faster. How is that? They will have, because it's after all a shared baby. Both the father and mother can share the responsibility of the baby, and maybe the women can pay attention to our health, which is the most important part while having a child. So this is the second solution, I think, as far as addressing the gender pay gap. And the third and the most important thing, which I've also mentioned earlier, is the salary transparency. I am not sure if you're aware that a few years back, the market regulator, SEBI, had made it mandatory for fund managers of mutual funds to publicly announce their salary. What happens in transparency is, when you know that the salary of a certain person, a person who is managing a business, is such, there are the loopholes of getting probably extra profits goes away. So when you actually publish the transparency in the salary by corporates, that will kind of address the gender pay gap that I feel. And I'm sure Indian companies are working towards it. As we have seen 10 years back, this was not the situation. The numbers have been extremely encouraging. There are a lot of battles to be won, but the gender gap is still there. And I'm sure when most of the students join the workforce, they will make such decisions which will have a far lasting impression and implications on the women empowerment and inclusion of the gender in the larger workforce. Thanks a lot for having me here. And that's what I had to share with the students here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that data-driven talk and how well you talked about the practical implications of COVID-19 affecting the gender. Thank you so much. I would now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Dr. Raman Kumar Jha, sir, to speak a few words on the issue of women empowerment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for exciting all of us on this special topic of women empowerment. Majority of women who were speakers, firstly, I would salute them for their success, but at the same time quote that be it male or female, the hardship for success is the same. They all will have to travel the same roads, same plans, same energy, same efforts, same competition. If women as a whole, if it's a big if here, just think that they have to defeat men, then you are defeating yourself. I'm strong in my opinion, what I'm saying. So this is not a competition at all. Yes, raising competence is always welcome, be it male, be it female. And it has to be stressed more towards female is also a fact, because somehow they were not educated or not taking up decision-making positions, which is also a reality. So to the extent of our, I think, first speaker whom I heard, the education, raising the competence level of individual women folks in the family will not only raise the level of thought processes and depth to which any decision is taken, but also be very, very instrumental in shaping the lives of children the family has. So I feel it cannot be, when the moment you say women, I always repeat that men are included in women. Read the word women. So it is wow men. Somebody said yesterday in one of the conferences. So wow men is women. So there cannot be an empowerment to women without deserving it. And the moment you deserve it, you don't need it. You don't need anything. So one doesn't have to ask. Let there be a day created when women take this pledge that we will be competing with everyone around, be it male, be it female. Do you think male who are competent are not fighting, are very happy, are not troubled by women also? So we are living in a society which is really unjust, and most of the things basically draw its inspiration or maybe fallouts from education per se. So every girl child is special, no doubt. Every boy child is also special. Do not leave out boy child in case you are talking about girl child. Otherwise, there'll be another cycle which will come up. Then people will start talking about male empowerment someday, maybe after 200 years from now. That will be another cycle, and we'll keep only having conferences and seminars. Let the thought process be so clear. It is Shiva's day today, and the Creator has both the portions in him, or both parts, male and female. And that's creation, that's God, that's nature. Let's not defy nature. Let's not put anybody down or up. If somebody has done it earlier, that's the worst thing that has happened. That is why society has not really developed. That is why so many families, education doesn't go on. They do not understand the real behavior pattern. They do not understand their roles in the society. They don't even appreciate. See, the girl child, suppose today goes onto the road and she is afraid. This is a big issue. This is a big issue, and that is why you're asking for an empowerment. But that empowerment, there has to be an inner empowerment, I believe in, and that is has to be acquired. That has to be coming with a, I would call that a zidd. आपकी ये जिद होना चाहिए, like the child who went to Delhi once again and then ultimately supported the family. That type of a passion has to be encouraged in every girl child. And if God is with us, and if male and female together take a decision rather than male only female taking a decision or male taking a decision. I'm not in favor of male taking a decision. It has to be a collective decision, because every decision impacts everyone else. Good decision impacts so many people. Bad decision taken by anybody. So if the decision is unanimously taken or taken together, the problem is solved. Now, somebody was asking all the time, there was a male friend of mine who was in my office someday. I just got reminded of that story. He says, sir, कुछ भी होता है बाहर तो हम बहुत हुक्म चला लेते हैं, घर आते हैं तो हमारी हिकड़ी बंद हो जाती है या हमारी आवाज नहीं निकलती है. ये क्या है सर? मैंने कहा सर देखिए, इसका जो सोल्यूशन या जो मैं देख पाता हूं, does a girl child or a woman marry a man who is less educated or not earning? Please understand my questions, especially the speakers and the female folks, students as well. Does a girl child marry a man or male who is less educated, who is less valued in the society, who is earning less than you? Answer is no. Turn this around. Things will be okay. But the male is ready to marry a female who is less educated, who is not earning also. Why? Now this has happened somehow, or this has become the trend. With this trend, you are already seeing that marriages are taking place at unequal level. And then you ask for equality in the family, it will not happen. That's what I feel, and very openly feel it. So if the male members and female members really come to one level where they must understand each other, accept their own follies also. All right, I'm not capable of doing this. So what? Please do it if you are capable of it. Or if I can do it, let me do it. Cooking food at house is not to be valued in terms of money that is contributed by the female. It was an art. Somehow that has become now a work, and that is why there is a problem. Suppose the male members decide that they don't want to go to the office and earn. Let us earn equal, and then let us share one roti each. It will be a problem of a different kind. So all these discussions or deliberations which are taking place on women empowerment, who made Kiran Bedi more empowered? The family, her father. The empowerment has to be taken up. आपकी अपनी self prejudiced मैं कहूँगा कि self oriented acquiring of power which is available very openly for everybody. If there is an idiot on the road, have the strength to kill him also. Hit him like a boy, or like you have a gun in your hand. Hit him. You will see how the boys start reacting. Things will change. So it is the courage, it is the confidence, it is the self-respect which has to increase, and that will come through education. So we as educationists have this role to play and support whosoever is weak. There can be male member who is weak, and he also needs equal support from the female, be it wife or sister or mother. And that is happening all around. Women are respected to the highest level, especially in India, and mother is the ultimate example of that. The sisters have their special place, but there is a conflict in the wife and husband, even though they were supposed to not have conflict at all. This conflict is because the parity takes place at unequal level. Let that happen. Let it be. Are the love marriages successful? No, even then it is not. So what is the problem? If one has an ego that I should be more empowered, there is a problem. Let anybody or let the decision be taken together. Or the family as a whole takes a decision. That's my take. I don't think I have. Do you give me time more to speak? I can go on, but to sum up, this was a really eye-opening lecture set that I could hear, and I'm sure around 200 plus students and faculty members who are attending it must have at least got an insight that if there is a cry, if there is a concern, if there is any hint of anybody suffering on account of anything, come up, stand up, go and help, support if you can. But you will support only when you are full with your capacity, your pocket is full, your brain is full, and you are also willing to help. This will happen if you have faith on yourself, faith on the Almighty, and faith on the creation. Thank you so much, Dr. Mayank and Dr. Kasturi and all the organizers, and keep having such exciting talks so that students also get an exposure and we get to hear people who are working and really excelling in their own fields. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering that wonderful address. I would now request the program leader for the Amity School of Business, Siddharth Raja Haldar sir, to convey the vote of thanks for the session.
Thank you, Mayank sir, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Department of Management and Law, Amity University, Jharkhand, I, Professor Siddharth Haldar, feel very privileged and honored to propose the vote of thanks on the very special day when we are commemorating women empowerment and inclusive growth. And every year, we celebrate International Women's Day on 8th of March across the globe. It's the day when everyone commits and shows appreciation, love, and respect towards women and assures throughout the lifetime. Woman is said to be the most beautiful creation of God. In fact, and it is a fact that all the great personalities are born from a woman and have taken their initial teachings from a woman. And that is why people give due respect to women in their lives. And it's a day when women are recognized and celebrated for playing various roles in different spheres of life. And that has been emphasized in various ways by our distinguished speakers, which I shall talk about later. And women have a robust spirit, which makes them excel in their field. And that has been illustrated by several personal stories and several other stories by Dr. Kalpana Gopalan ma'am and Dr. Gyan ma'am. And I'll be mentioning especially which I have picked up from their deliberations. And it's an occasion to remind the universe where we show and acknowledge the significance and existence of women in our life, basically. And the status of women and has been a subject to many change and over a span of recorded Indian history. And although the improvements are visible and in India, as some women have served in various senior official positions in the Indian government, and including that's of a President of India, Prime Minister of India, and the Speaker of Lok Sabha. And that these are some of the highest places where one would, be it men or women, you would like to be in. And women in India now participate fully in areas such as education, sports, politics, media, press, arts and culture, services sector, science and technology, and so many others to mention. Indira Gandhi, she served probably as the first Indian woman prime minister and for the longest period of time. And as a woman prime minister, I think Merkel from Germany, she has exceeded. The Constitution of India, it's very worthy to mention when we are talking about the empowerment point, and it is to press upon this particular aspect that how we definitely need some support, and there has to be some support system which will bestow upon certain rights on us, and this is the Constitution of India, which guarantees all Indian women equality through Article 14, no discrimination by the state through Article 15(1), and equality of opportunity through Article 16, equal pay for equal work, and through Article 39D and Article 42. So these are the articles which have been clearly stating that's the equality and the empowerment aspects. I'm inspired to share some trivia, and which will surely mesmerizes the work, courage, and great contributions from different women in almost all walks of life. And the steady changes in the position of women can be highlighted, and by looking at what they have been achieved by women in the country. And way back 1848, Savitri Bai Phule, she opened the first girls' school with the help of her husband Jyoti Rao Phule. In 1879, the first college, Bethune College in Calcutta, that came into existence by the effort of John Eliot and Drinkwater Bethune. And in 1883, Chandramukhi Basu and Kadambini Ganguly, they become the first female graduates of India. And this series is quite big. And once I was collecting some of the trivia, and if the time permits, I'd like to mention a few from the recent times, like on 5th, from since independence, Sarojini Naidu, she became the India's first woman governor. And on the same day, Amrit Kaur, she assumed the office as the first female cabinet minister of India in the country's first cabinet as well. And Prem Mathur of Deccan Airways, she became the first Indian woman commercial pilot. Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, and she represented India in the United Nations General Assembly. And there are some more to mention. Who doesn't know Kiran Bedi, and became the first Indian woman to serve in the most prestigious IPS services. And Mother Teresa, she went on the first Indian citizen. She was the Indian citizen and the first woman from India to win the Nobel Prize. Bachendri Pal, the first Indian woman to climb the Mount Everest. And Justice M. Fatima Bibi, she became the first woman judge of Supreme Court of India. And Madam Pratibha Patil, she became the first president of India. And Meera Nair, ma'am, she was the first speaker, female speaker of the Lok Sabha. And the series is so long. And last but not the least, in my collection, Sub-Lieutenant Shivangi, she became the first woman pilot in the Indian Navy. And there are so many trivias to mention that, yes, in at least in India, I would like to say that our women are quite empowered. But there is a lot to go. In this series, Dr. Kalpana ma'am, she mentioned the stories of some simple women, ordinary women who transformed the successors, built their individual capability, and they are the true architect of their self. And what she said is that building capability is the underpinning of empowerment and base of Nobel laureate Amartya Sen's capability approach. And she also said that unless those theories are put into practice, there is nothing of the big use. And she presented beautifully the capability cake with 3 constituent elements: competence, courage, and compassion, where she mentioned the story of Sunidhi, a 12-year-old blind girl, went on to become a chess champion. Mallika, who lost her husband, and but she learned to drive buggy and then challenged all the adversities to the fence. Another woman was Pushpalata, who was on a COVID-19 duty and as a health worker. She also said that every problem has a solution through substantial action and not through symbolism. And her final message was, don't wait for being empowered, rather build competence, courage, and compassion. Dr. Sonali Gyan, ma'am, she spoke that every woman's life is an inspiration, and shared her personal experiences at ISRO and the launch of GSLV satellite. And after 55 seconds, when it exploded, and the entire ISRO community was in a deep state of shock, and they went on a series of investigations to find out the flaw. And but although there was no disparity between men and women, what she mentioned, and a culture, and she is very proud of, and who is committed to work. And she also did mention a childhood memory while she was about to choose her stream at Standard 8. And Dr. Gyan ma'am, she followed her passion at that point of time. And today she is no less than a celebrity, the architect and designer of the launch vehicles. Dr. Vandana Sareen Walia ma'am, she said that it is required, it is utmost important to thank all of our family members for progression. The challenges are pronounced in various ways. And she quoted one of the data from UNESCO way back in 2015, mentioning that women who lack basic literacy status is in excess of 500 million across this globe. So, but that doesn't mean that girls are less privileged or potential. Aspirations are nowhere lacking in the girls, as Dr. Walia ma'am said, but they might lack in mentoring, guidance, or some other aspects. A story of a girl, not only who continued, she mentioned in her college, and who has taken in an undergrad course, and not only who continued her education, but her aspirations against all odds, with all support and without support from her family, especially the father. And later she became help for her own family. Education is also very on a great rise for the girls, especially in the colleges and the higher educational institutes. And our today's the speaker, Miss Nasrina ma'am, Nasrina Sultana ma'am, and she presented a very well researched, data driven talk, and highlighted the regulatory changes in the corporate space, which allowed to close the gap in the favor of women. And one of her data was that amongst the 4,000 plus directors, and there are more than 700 women directors. This was one of the data, and which I could record. And she made so many other illustrations from the corporate world, and uh, she also mentioned that the women-led countries like Germany, Iceland, Taiwan, New Zealand, they bettered in the COVID times in managing the crisis. And so thank you everyone, all our distinguished guests and the speakers, and through all of your such inspiring talks, you made us knowledgeable and a better person today. I would like to thank Dr. Kasturi Sahai ma'am, the program coordinator of management and law, for conceiving and curating this event. And I would also like to thank Mr. Mayank sir, who steered very nicely the event today. I would also like to thank respected Assistant Director sir, Dr. Prabhat Tripathi sir, for his constant support and encouragement. And this program could not have been successful without the help of the IT team. Thank you, gentlemen. And I would also like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, respected Director sir, and respected Registrar sir, for their guidance, support, and blessings. Finally, I would like to thank all the esteemed faculty members, staff, and students of Amity University, participants, attendees, people from media and stakeholders for their contributions to make this program successful. Thank you, everyone.